Hello, everybody. It's Michael Pierce back for another edition of Solopreneurs in Action. We just started the live part of the weekly meeting. We're hoping that Sarah is going to show up. She should comment on Facebook that she had something to take care of, and she should be joining us. My dad, Peter, is here so that we're fully functional and able to hold the meeting. Welcome, Peter.
Nice to see you, Michael.
I hear you've had your second success in attraction marketing by having somebody contact you about your business from your posting on Facebook. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's been an awesome week. I've just completed a 6-week training course, so I'm going to share a little bit about what I learned during the training course. So Diane Hockman's been teaching us something called Twist Your List. Twist Your List is basically a copywriting course where an experienced copywriter or somebody that writes letters for a living shares the techniques they use to get people excited about what they're talking about, how they mix and match the things they put in their letter so they can talk about more than one thing without confusing their audience. There's always a focus, but there's something you have promoted and something you're thinking about promoting you can include information about. It's just a different way to get connected to your audience. I've actually, with the training at the program, been able to take my small list from 40 people to 105 people in Aweber, partly because I had 46 of the 700 students in the class put their names on a list that said, please add me to your newsletter, because they also are students of this person that's teaching them how to write newsletters. And each one of those 46 people saw the value of seeing the other students' emails, so they would have more material to reflect on and to learn from. So in one day, I literally went from having 46 people to having 94 people, because I added 46 people in one swipe. I actually did a post about this earlier this week called "What Does a Frog Taste Like?" to my broadcast list. Basically, I learned how to use a CSV file and transfer the list from an Excel to my Aweber, and thereby populating 46 people in 1 minute instead of the old way where I could do 10 a day, and it took me about 5 minutes to do the 10 because you had to enter their first name, their last name, their email, and who introduced them manually to the field for each person, hit save, then go open the field again. And the Aweber limits you to 10 people manually a day, because you're supposed to be able to learn how to do this CSV file transfer thing. I've heard about it, heard people talking about it, but I had to watch 2 different YouTube videos for about 6 minutes to figure out what the basics were before it would work for me. But it was just another example of how, no matter how insurmountable, growing online or growing as a person is only achieved through facing your challenges and doing new things. It's like hosting these meetings. When I started with Webinar Jam a 1.5 years ago, I had literally been at like 5 meetings that weren't paid my whole time online. And now in a 1.5 years, I've hosted somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 100 meetings. And I'm starting to get the hang of it. I'm actually having more success now that I've got the technical bugs all worked out, and we're having more good results at meetings and more that we can save and record. We were actually able to take a 22-minute clip from a webinar earlier this week and turn it into our first Spanish language translation of how people get paid at Powur. So these have all been effective steps in moving the Powur business model forward. My associate Sarah, about 90% of her team's primary language is Mexican. So now that we have some presentations in Spanish, they've been able to recruit 2 new people since the translation was available, because instead of having to try and explain what I was telling to their people, they could just sit them down in front of the 20-minute video where I explained in English and Sarah translated into Mexican the actual steps of the compensation plan, so that the Mexican downline could easily see the steps they needed to go and get paid. And ironically, Maria, who's been with us for 3 months, once she figured out that she got paid the 200 plus the 25 for the first customer, she went out the very next day after she saw the company presentation in Mexican and was able to explain it to somebody and got her first solar customer. So congratulations to you, Maria, when you get to see this. That's the first step in growing your Powur business, is getting your first install approved as being a valid customer. So now there's 4 in the system, Sarah's own, 2 that Sarah's found and 1 that Maria's found. So far the Solarpreneur group at Powur has 4 paying customers putting grid or connecting to the grid using the SolarCity installations and using the Powur business model to get those SolarCity installations on roofs.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Quite happy. One of Sarah's 2 installations actually is being done this week, and because the customer didn't want to pay the 7% interest for the 20 years of the lease, he bought his system cash outright. So at the end of the month, or middle of next month on the 10th, when we get paid, we'll actually know for everybody in the group what the long-term pay residual will add up to, because we'll get a check. Everybody in that downline will get a check for the full commission once that person's paid and had their system on their roof for 31 days. So we're all kind of excited to know exactly what the long-term residuals will add up to, because when I get my first check, I'll be able to look at the model, the math, and see how it really works out over the 20-year period. So yeah, there is a bunch of different ways we get paid here at Powur. We get paid for finding a new customer and getting them connected with Powur. That's $200 commission for each new customer you find that gets connected to the grid. The second way you get paid is on your first 3 qualified customers that are in SolarCity active areas. You'll receive $25 for each of those 3 people if they're in your first 60 days in the business. The third way you get paid is by getting one of your partners to the point in their business where they have their first 3 solar leads qualified at SolarCity, and you'll get a $225 bonus at the same time they're cut a check for $75. So one of the things I like about the Powur business model is not only do we only get paid for helping people, but we get paid better for helping our people than for qualifying ourselves. So somebody's really smart at Powur when they set up the compensation plan, because to grow a large team, you need to have people underneath you making money. So you actually get paid for helping them make their first paycheck. I think it's genius. And the fact that you get paid more for helping somebody directly below you than you get paid for doing it yourself will motivate you to help more people get that first qualification and their first promotion and their first paycheck. So I think it's just a win-win-win. What do you think, Dad?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good win-win situation. Yeah.
Great. Do you have any questions about the pay plan or the structure or any of the changes we've seen in the last 30 days at Powur? Was there anything at last Thursday's meeting you should share with us?
I can't think of anything offhand. There was something it was confusing me, but I can't think of exactly what it was.
We can cover it later. I'm just for content going to click on the screen share here then, and I'm going to go to Facebook. Now, do you see Facebook?
Yeah, I can see it.
Good, thank you. So maybe you can answer this question. Does my name obscure part of the text at my banner at the top of Facebook so you only see Create a Road, Matt?
Your name is sort of blocking out part of Create a Road.
Okay, I thought so, but I don't get to see the same image my visitors get to see.
All I can see is Create a ROA, because the rest of it's all covered over with other stuff.
You also see the update info and the view activity log.
Yeah, and it's blocking out the rest of Create a Road.
So there's one of the wonderful things about graphics and why they tell you never to put your text at the bottom of the page, because guess what? There's other things at the bottom of the page and it gets covered up. Somebody
mentioned
is
covering up the rest of it.
Yeah, I knew that part, but I wasn't sure whether everybody saw the stuff on the right or not. Keeps it interesting. So this is a post I did this week at Michael's Health Answers, and it titled "What Do You Do Best?" Or,
Lost it.
no, I just clicked on it.
Oh. Okay.
Unfortunately, because I'm the host, here we are with the whole computer lag. So this is one of the 3 websites I use for my online business. A lot of people just have one website, but I always wanted to have my name, which I have up, michaeljeanpierce.com, which is the only .com website I have. michaelpierce.com had already been used, so by adding my middle name, I was able to get my full name online. This is Michael's Health Answers, where I talk about my heart attack recovery and the whole raw food that I used to restore my health and lose 120 pounds while I recovered from a heart attack. And this is also where I post a lot of my educational and informational stuff about business. So I already have 2 comments, which is pretty good for me for a post I published yesterday. I made this wonderful picture with Canvas, and it just repeats, what do you do best? I talk about here at the beginning, and this is something I learned from the Twist Your List program with Diane. She says when you have a speech impediment, or you're bald, or you got funny eyebrows, or when you got a lisp, or when you got something that people can't ignore that they might find distracting or difficult, you should point it out at the very, very beginning. She says this will do 2 things for you. First of all, it'll explain what the problem is, so your people will automatically be comfortable with it. She also said it makes you more real and somewhat vulnerable because you've shared what was probably a problem for you. So because of the education I have now, I've found a way to take a negative and turn it into a positive through my writing. So what I cover here is that I love to write now. This has been has had some personal irony for me, because for years I made excuses. With dyslexia, it's hard to share what is really on my mind because my fingers don't always work at the same speed as I think. The spelling and grammar is painful to read, I've been told by more than one grammar Nazi. Then I reminded myself never to compare myself to others, especially to experts in their field of expertise. So if you can get past the bad spelling and grammar, I know about some stuff. I am an expert at preparing traditional European foods, classic French trained fine dining chef for 21 years. I go on to explain that I understand how money works from my time at Primerica. I tie it up with all the stuff I share here at Michael's Health Answers, optimizing your immune system, how to safely lose weight, because I knocked off 120 pounds over 4 years and have kept it off for almost 3 years. How I walk my way to better health, started with 1 kilometer in a hospital. I'm now up to 5 kilometers every single day on average. Steps to effectively recover after a heart attack, because I've had that experience. The picture covers my why and how family is important to me, and how one of the things I like about being a marketer and working online is I get to go to school at 2:30 in the afternoon and pick my grandson up in person, so that he's got a family member waiting for him outside, and they don't have to pay somebody just for that trip back and forth because their nanny doesn't have a driver's license. I end up talking about, back to the beginning, how I've got 15,000 steps on my Fitbit twice this week, ask people if they challenge themselves, explain the rules of the game. And there's a little post here about 50 words as a paragraph, 400 as a page, 300 as a manuscript. And it's all the different things that writers come to learn as they share their stuff. So I've been able to twist the story from one story to a second story, back to the first story, back to where I started, because of this Twist Your List program. And I've been able to share about the value of my family. I mentioned the business experience I've had. I mentioned some of the education stuff I've done. And all this is in less than 400 words with a couple of pictures. There was a time where I would have been challenged to come up with 400 words, let alone fit it all with graphics. So what I'm here to say is, no matter how inexperienced you are, for me in a short period of time, from 4 years, I've gone from web illiterate to having 3 different websites with a total of 400 posts, 200 videos on YouTube. And it's all open for any one of you that wants to slowly learn the skills necessary to share your message clearly. Because if you're not providing answers, you're probably paying somebody for those answers. And none of us came online to pay other people. We came online to get paid. So if you want to get paid online, you have to be providing answers that your customers need. So one of the things I became aware of after years of not doing it was people in this space need to learn how to better market themselves and how to get themselves out in social media. So I now promote an educational platform where people that need to learn these skills can go learn them from people that are using them on a daily basis. So I don't have to teach my people everything. They can rely on the training platform and then come to me with their actual issues for implementation and how they're using it in our business model. So I don't have to cover all the basics. I can just help them tweak things so they can start making money sooner. So I hope that answers some questions. You really just have to do whatever you need to take the next step, no matter how awkward or difficult it is. Even if it takes you a week to learn a new skill, it's better to go out and learn that skill than to not take up the challenge, or worse yet, pay somebody to do it for you. I had somebody in my group ask me what I thought about paying somebody else to do my marketing and advertising for me. And I said, that's crazy, because once you pay somebody to do something you should be doing for yourself, you have to pay them every month. And it's never going to be less expensive than the first month. So why would you want to set yourself up for a new expense that doesn't guarantee you profit? Does that make sense, Dad?
Yeah, that makes lots of sense, definitely. I like what you've written up there. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll share the link on Facebook. I think I did just before the meeting, actually. I edited the post I did yesterday this morning. So if you could double check it, that would be really nice. I'm sure there's at least one grammar and spelling error in it. But it's just trying to get out what works. So I'm going to go off the screen share, stop this wonderful cascade, and I'm back. So is there anything you'd like me to cover, Dad? Did you remember the question you might have?
No, I couldn't remember that question.
Fair enough.
I have finished that book by Elon Musk. It was very interesting.
I bet. So where does that story end in the book?
It ends with Solar City and how they're promoting that and how successful it's been so far. So,
They don't mention our business model? We weren't that far along in the story?
No, Powur is not mentioned at all.
Did they mention that they're looking at alternatives and different ways to market than traditionally? Do they cover how Elon Musk doesn't like the traditional dealer model and doesn't want to? They
did mention that he didn't like that model, but they didn't mention the model they have eventually hooked onto.
That's okay. As long as there's some reference to it, we can use that to talk about it. You know, we're the result of this problem.
Right. Yeah.
So how big a book?
When he's selling his cars, that people will, get other people to buy them. It's like word of mouth type of thing.
I understand. I actually heard through the grapevine that if you have a Tesla car product, that you then are able to refer other people to Tesla to purchase, and you'll be the one receiving the paid commission instead of a dealership. That Tesla believes in paying the people that advertise his products if they're users of his product, and he's willing to put his money where his mouth is and give them a share of that profit.
Yes. There's quite a bit being published online recently about the upcoming car.
With the Model 3 coming out.
Yes, at the end of the month. So.
I'm seriously considering putting down my $1,000 US to get in line for one, for three reasons. One, that I'll save $400 or $500 a month on fuel as my wife and I stop consuming fossil fuels to do our delivery route. Two is so that I can become a salesperson for the car. And three, I can't think of a better way to advertise the Powur business model than on a Tesla product. Especially if I happen to be one of the first people on Vancouver Island driving one. I believe that puts me again leagues ahead of the average person around here. I've only found 3 Tesla S's in the whole Comox Valley, and I understand one's actually from Parksville.
Oh yeah.
It just visits one of my paper customers once, one weekend about a month. I go to one of my stops on Evergreen, and once a month there's a Tesla parked in the driveway plugged into the house.
Have you seen any Tesla plug-in systems here on the island?
I haven't seen any active charging stations. I heard there was one at the local brewery, but I actually honestly haven't taken the time to go in and find out whether it's just on display or it was just a myth.
Well, I haven't seen anything of that brewery because I looked all around looking for one outside, unless.
I don't know if they have a place in the parking lot there where they could actually put it out for use, but I'm not sure. This car was plugged in with a fancy extension cord that had some sort of relay or something, big battery pack thing in the middle of the extension cord.
Oh yeah.
So the cord came out of the normal 110 plug-in, and there was some sort of inverter or capacitor or something that would ramp up the energy level, and that was plugged into the car where the gas cap would normally, you would figure, being in the quarter panel with a big round plug-in. It's kind of neat looking. It's a model 85S, which I believe is the all-wheel drive single motor version. So it's the second level of trim for a Tesla. Probably about $110,000, $120,000 Canadian when they bought it. I'm actually one of the things I'm watching as far as Tesla in the U.S. goes. The U.S. dollars had a big setback in the last week, and I understand that it's only worth about $1.35 and not $1.41 right now. So
yes, I noticed that.
I'm hoping that it goes down to like $1.20 by the time the end of the month rolls around, because the difference between $1.20 and $1.40 is huge when you're trying to get money into the States and you want to invest $1,000 US. You could save me $100 or $200 just on this one deposit. But there's actually, I put my name in on the Tesla website to get a consult about the S, so that I can get a call and talk to somebody about the 3 before I put my money down. But that's another thing that you could do for general information. The Tesla website has a huge amount of wealth of information. I signed up as a potential customer, so I got on their email list. So when there's new stuff coming out, I believe that's where I found out about the 3 coming out about a month ago. It was actually an email because I'm on the Tesla email list from Tesla.com.
Yeah, I just posted stuff last night about Tesla's cars. It's on my Facebook page.
Well, I think it's really funny that he's chosen to launch it on April 1st.
Yeah, it is a funny day to launch something.
But I guess he said, it's an April Fool's joke for the traditional business model for the cars, because now he's in competition with things like the Toyota Prius and the Chevy Volt and all those other, reasonably priced, could be, reliable, or at least hybrid reliable transportation. The S is a wonderful thing, and the X is a wonderful thing, but most people can't afford between $100,000 and $140,000 for a passenger car.
No.
I'm super excited that we're talking about something at $30,000 US that might be $40,000 or $41,000 here in Canada, because most new cars nowadays are $30,000 for a gas car, and you can easily spend $60,000 or $70,000 on a gas truck or a big fancy sport utility or anything.
But it puts it into the price range where the average person can afford it before that.
Yeah, I think that it is a thing whose time has come, and I'm so glad that I was able to live long enough to participate in the active change and the cleaning and the greening of our world. Because really, it's about what we do for our kids, not ourselves. And I think we are the generation that's going to change the way things are done. Everybody of all ages, people I know in their 20s, right up to people older than you, I'm talking to on a regular basis. Maybe for the first time ever, everybody is on the same page. Things have to change as fast as we can change them, instead of, we'll get to it one day.
Yeah, and they have to start changing quickly because time is running out.
Well, we've seen it right here. 4 times this winter, the cities rolled out a dike where they had a 2-foot round water pipe around the mouth of the river so that it didn't flood the entire business center, because we're now below sea level at the highest tides.
Yeah, that last storm did a lot of devastation along some of the trails and around the parks.
I understand there's a piece of waterfront where they actually lost a piece of pavement onto the beach.
Oh yeah.
Actually broke a piece out and tore the path out and flipped it towards the bay. So So yeah, the call to action's there, and we can do our part, and you can do your part by joining the Power Business Opportunity and helping to spread the word that things are clean and green. We're in the United States right now. The company doing the work, Solar Cities, recently moved into Mexico. We'll follow sometime soon as the spread of the Power business model and Solar City infiltrates those areas. I did find out from Lori as she followed up with Solar City. The Washington State Solar City operations right now are only doing commercial buildings, not residential, which is why none of her friends in Washington State's postal codes were working. They don't have residential crews there yet. That's the next step in their business model. So what we're finding is that the commercial crews are going in first, like what's happening in Mexico right now, and that's why Power hasn't jumped right into Mexico City, because they don't have a product yet. They aren't doing residential installs. It seems they do the bigger things first, and then the residential gets fired up once they got all that operational. So that might be what we'll learn here about BC, that they're just doing large commercial jobs, and the residential phase 2 in the development as the rebates and the grant system becomes available.
Mm-hmm.
We should actually do some research on the provincial and the federal government websites to see where they are in their climate initiatives, to see if there's anything we can alert either Power or Solar City to that may expedite this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of the questions for your new contact would be, what are the holdups here in BC with getting Solar City active in the residential category? At least then we would know what we could be doing to speed the process along.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
You know, if it's a matter of writing our politicians, I'm capable of writing a letter and you're capable of writing a letter. It would certainly get exciting if we had a timeline and some actual things we could be doing, because then we could start talking to the general public and saying, you know, we need 1,000 people, or we need 5,000 people signatures to get a pilot project going, or we need 20,000 to get it active in the whole province, or, you know, it would give us a reason to be talking to people and collecting names and growing the business model again. But as long as we don't know what's going on, I'm reluctant to go and say it could be 5 years for all we've been told.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next step, is to learn more. So I'm glad that you're out doing research and talking to real people in the field. I don't always have time to do that when I take care of my work responsibilities and the running of these meetings and keeping things going. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you for attending. Thank you for learning, and have a great day, Dad.
Yeah, you have a great day too, Michael. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.